Hello, Cancers, and welcome back. I am Sarah Mackenzie. I read as Sora for Sora the Intuitive, Sora Sky Messages, and we will be using the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight today. We're doing this series because there's a lot of cool things happening astrologically this month, and while I'm not an astrologer, I do really enjoy reading about it, and then I go to tarot to make sense of it, so I thought I would offer that here. So on the 23rd, we have the Sun and Venus going into Scorpio. 2 days later, the new moon is in Scorpio, beginning eclipse season. We have 6 planets going out of retrograde this month, and Mars going into retrograde on the 30th. So between all the ins and outs of retrogrades and eclipse season, I put together a little spread. We are going to start with a card for you, Cancer. That is the Five of Cups, or the Five of Chalices. That is often associated as a card of grief. Now, grief can be the loss of somebody. This is actually one of those cards that does deal with death. But it can also be the loss of a part of you. This can be something that you thought of as part of your identity that no longer works for you. It can be a relationship that has ended, but this card does ask you to take care of yourself this month, and to honor the relationships, the good parts anyway, or the person by continuing to live. She is feeling her feelings here, and that is great for you water signs. And it is important. Grieving is actually a very important part of life because it's a form of love. But I will ask you to be gentle with yourself this month. Next, we have a card for kind of the general situation, the general overlook of the month. And that is the Ace of Cups. That is my cup runneth over. This usually speaks to new enjoyment. You see the dove, there's peace, there's calm. It can be overwhelming. It is, still sloshing over with emotion. It can be new friendships. It can be new relationships. And it is really interesting coming from the 5, because it does say that while things are hard, they're looking up. And that can be really hard, because sometimes when we start to feel happy again, we start to feel guilty about the things that we've lost and not staying in that moment of sadness. But back to the best way to honor somebody is to keep living. There's also a joy here. So lots of mixed emotions this month. A lot of back and forth on what will and won't work for you. But please take your time with yourself. Next, I have what to watch for. This is just with all of the chaos going on in the atmosphere. These are the things that you can be ready for ahead of time. That's the Magician. The Magician asks what you want your life to look like. What do you need? What do you want? What are you open to? How do you want your life to look? And reminds you that you'll only get there if you take the steps that are necessary. So having that clear vision, but then also taking the opportunities that are presented. Not allowing the losses of the past to keep you from moving towards the future. With that, we have what needs to be healed. That's the King of Cups. That is playing it safe. The King of Cups generally doesn't play it safe. That is the great thing, is that he's been through the emotional turmoil And so he knows that he will always go for what makes him happy, but he will do so in a way that makes sense. He won't just do the thing that seems like it makes sense. It has to please him. It has to make him happy on some level, or it has to be something that will eventually get him to that place that he looks forward to as the magician. But in terms of what needs to be healed, it is very much, especially looking at the other cards, very much saying, you've been trying to play it safe. You've been trying so hard not to get hurt again that you're just kind of sloshing around, and unable to go towards that life you want because the obstacles in the way of that seem too scary and too dangerous. But if you're playing it safe, you will never get even remotely close there, and you will keep pushing and keep trying. So next we have, where should I pause before jumping in? Impulsiveness does seem to be one of those things that we need to look towards with everything going on, and so that's what I threw in there. That's the Three of Pentacles. So that is generally a card of teamwork. It does often warn that you shouldn't be doing all the work. It looks for balance. But as a where should I pause before jumping in, this is a very clear, be careful who you collaborate with, be careful who you get into a group with, be careful who you share resources with. Because all of this that you're working towards can be set back with the wrong people on your team. Doesn't necessarily mean they don't have your best interest in heart, but it can very much put you back into that pattern of loss and heartache. Finally, I'm going to take the shadow card. For that, we have the Knave or Page of Pentacles. This is a card of new opportunities, a card of messages regarding opportunities, new opportunity for resources coming down the line. Sometimes it's a little bit of money coming in, which is really interesting with the idea of be careful who you team up with. Making sure that these resources that you are going to be getting, that you are allocating them in a way that gets you where you want to be, instead of tying you up where you think you should be, or with somebody who will hold you back instead of pushing you forward. Remember, we're going through for the Magician. We want to be more like the King of Cups. We don't want to get stuck with somebody bringing us down. I mean, her hair is literally on fire. And I know it's usually the pants if we're going to talk about liar, liar, and all that. But it's a warning to be careful who you get into anything with. All in all, back to being gentle with yourself. Really take inventory. Really decide where you want to be and where you are, and start looking for the things that will get you there. Not where you should be, where you want to be. Good luck.